quickly just go through and introduce everybody. So I'm going to ask my speakers to wave when I say your name. I'm not going to ask you to talk yet. I'm going to get through the introductions, and then I'll turn it over to our speakers. For those of you who have questions, we want this to be interactive. Please, if you're on the call, do a raise hand or just unmute yourself, or certainly feel free to shoot your question in the chat, and we will make sure that we get it answered. So thank you so much for having us today, and to my wonderful speakers for all saying yes very quickly. We all know that real estate has been rocking and rolling right now, much I think to a lot of our surprise, but I wanted you all to be able to get a great perspective on what's going on in the wider economy. What's happening in our jurisdictions? What are they seeing? What are they seeing in impacts from COVID? So we're going to talk about all these great things. So we've got Gary Wilson from Caroline County. Hi, Gary. I see you back there. With Bill Freeling from the city of Fredericksburg. Hey, Bill. Nick Miner from King George County. Hey, Nick. We've got Rose Deal from Orange County. Hi, Rose. We've got Debbie Sanders from Spotsylvania. I see Debbie on the call, so we're waving to you, Debbie, even though you can't see us. And then we've got John Holden, who's also joined by Lindsay Brown in Stafford County. So I'm just going to start in alphabetical order, just pick on you that way, and then I'll mix it up. So Gary, I'm going to start with you from Caroline County. Just a very brief couple minutes about your top 2020 economic development activities that you've been working on in Caroline County. So go.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity. Lots going on in Caroline County. We thought that during a pandemic, this would be a tremendously difficult period. And of course, it is a difficult period for our local businesses. And we're working hard with them, trying to hold them up as best we can. The CARES Act money that we've gotten, we're granting those out. We're working on that right now to get as many of our businesses those grants as possible. And we're actually picking up the phone every day, calling everybody, sending out emails, so that money can get into the hands of our businesses, which is critical for their survival. And that's one of the main things we're doing right now. We do have some standard economic development things that are going on right now that are being very successful for us. We're about to have Tractor Supply, for example, is going to start construction in September, and that's on Route 1 near Ladysmith. That's a new kind of industry for us, a retailer in that location. We rezoned it. There's incentivized some of the utilities for that, and it's going to expand that area because there's another 40 acres along with that that are now going to be open for development that weren't before. Sheets is up before the Board of Supervisors tomorrow night for a rezoning. That's a part of a larger, again, retail opportunity for the county. It's starting out as 8 acres. There's potentially as much as 100 acres available at that site for all sorts of business development. And one of the things making this possible is the county's $26 million investment in the expansion and upgrade of Route 639. And the board has been all over this to make this a great opportunity for the county and for businesses here. And this is the first payoff for that. These folks are stepping up and being able to develop on 639 where it had been too difficult before to carry that lift for all the road work that they would have to do. So this is something very positive for us. We're seeing 639 becoming fulfilling what we thought the expectation of that corridor would be. So that's another positive for us. We had an industrial announcement. Ashton Lewis is purchasing W.T. Jones's lumber company and putting in another $10 million investment in that and adding jobs. We're thrilled with that. And things we can't talk about too much because they're still in the works. We have 2 industrial parks that are either just about to get their tier rankings and market. In fact, one is just starting that way. Another is about to come about fairly soon in the southern end of the county. That's going to be about an 800-acre industrial park that's more focused on high-end technology-driven companies than just the standard what Caroline has had in the past as far as distribution goes. However, we still have at this particular moment a number of opportunities, projects we're working on that are more distribution oriented. So we have almost 2 million square feet of industrial prospects, we'll say, at this point, that we have our fingers crossed that some of those will come across the finish line and create jobs for our community, which we're, of course, very eager to have. Now we have realtors here, so we need to talk about something that they can sell. I think that's important. We have Brookwood subdivision, 50 homes being built, and that's outside of Bowling Green. And another 50 looks like being approved pretty soon for the construction to start. So we're going to have a lot of houses out there to sell. We know that Pendleton subdivision has got significant growth going on. Another 704 units are going to be built there, which is pretty exciting for us. That's a great development with Pendleton Golf Course and the residential that surrounds it. There's also another 74 carriage houses that are going to be built by our YMCA in Ladysmith. That's again more stock to sell for our good friends in the realty community. And then we know that there's more activity going on at Ladysmith Village that we can't talk about at the moment, but we have our fingers crossed that you're going to see some major expansion there as well. So you're seeing everything happening here. You know, retail's happening, industrial's happening, high-end technology-based industry happening, and residential's happening. So it's across the board activity for us. We're thrilled with it. At the same time, haven't lost the sight that we have existing businesses that have been hurt by the pandemic, and we're working very hard to hold them up as well. So that's the big picture in Caroline County.
That's great, Gary. Thank you. So now I'm going to kick it over to Bill Freeling with the City of Fredericksburg. Bill, what's hot in the City of Fredericksburg right now?
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for having me. Appreciate everyone being here today. I think Gary had a good format there, so I'm going to follow his same format. Certainly, you know, COVID has impacted our businesses as well. Obviously, everyone's businesses have been affected by that. I do think that things are starting to seeming to come back a little bit. You're starting to see more activity downtown, just more people walking around downtown, and restaurants are reporting that they're doing a little bit better. And so I think people are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, and you know, with wearing masks and coming out, and so things are starting to improve a bit. Certainly still challenging though. Just going through some of the projects. Probably the headline would be the stadium. Obviously, unfortunately, the Fredericksburg Nationals weren't able to have a season this year, but the stadium construction is continuing, and a silver lining would be that when they do open in the spring, it'll be truly a finished product for people to enjoy. And so they've started to have some events out there, Thirsty Thursdays and movies, and they had fireworks out there on the 4th. So as they continue to finish up the construction, they are starting to have events there. Again, we always envisioned that would be a multi-purpose, not just baseball facility. So we're really looking forward to the spring, and just hoping that the world has resumed by then, and that minor league baseball will continue as normal this spring. A lot of other around that, the baseball stadium, a lot of good activity out in Celebrate, Virginia. Near Central Park, the Sheets is getting rebuilt there. There's hundreds of apartments being built. There's an active adult community that's being built. There's a new small hotel that is just about to open, the Silver Collection Hotel. So a lot of activity there, and some additional activity along Fall Hill Avenue there, with some new townhouses and new apartments. So good activity out in Celebrate, Virginia area. Downtown, we've got a lot of stuff going on. The redevelopment of the Freelance Star is occurring with WAC and Bakos. New garage is up. There's a new building that'll have 2 floors of office and a floor of restaurants. And about to break ground on an apartment building there. And then to come will be a hotel and some additional apartments. And then over by the train station, there's a couple projects going on. The lofts at Frederick Street that Mike Adams and John Van Zant are doing, and then the Janney Marshall redevelopment that the Janney family is doing right next to the train station there. And then there's some townhouses that are being built by Tradition Homes near or right behind Fredericksburg Square. There's a new development called Clearview, which is only like 3 houses, but right next to right across from Chatham. And then Riverfront Park is under construction. It should be opening by the spring of next year, summer at the latest. Obviously, Chatham Bridge is closed right now, so that'll be closed until October of next year is the plan for that. So that's short-term pain, but long-term is going to provide really good pedestrian connectivity between Stafford and Fredericksburg. So excited for that. Speaking of road work, obviously there's a lot of road work going on in Stafford and Fredericksburg on 95. So that's with the extension of the hot lanes down to 133, and then the connector distributor lanes down to about mile marker 129. So a lot of work there. VA clinic is going to be a big deal for our community, whether it lands in Spotsylvania or Fredericksburg. We should know that by later this year, and that'll bring hundreds of jobs, a lot of new people coming into the community, and so I think it's going to be a benefit for our entire region, no matter where it lands. Couple other things: the mobile home park on Route 1 is being redeveloped into a new office park, so that will be good on many levels. There's a Royal Farms that's going in on Route 3 to replace on Plank Road to replace a couple of older gas stations. And as Gary said, you're realtors, so maybe you're most interested in the housing market. There are some new homes that are being built. Telegraph Hill, across from the National Military Park. Some continue to be pretty good infill activity downtown, sort of one house here and there as lots are sold and our new homes are built there. The Webbs are doing the Valley Run townhouses, kind of on Route 1, like close to the line near like the motor mile, the auto mile. And then as Gary concluded, obviously that's a lot of new activity, but we're continuing to try to support our existing businesses. Just wrapped up the second, or I guess third round of grants funded by the CARES Act to our small businesses, and working on a small business marketing plan with some of that money too, to market the fact that that we're reopened and ready for people to come, and that safety precautions are in place for COVID. So happy to answer any questions you might have, but that's kind of a broad overview of some of the things going on in the city. And Kim, thanks again for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Okay, we're going to kick it over to Nick Miner with King George County.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. And Kim, thank you for letting me come here and sort of give you guys an update on King George. Similar to my partners here, it's a lot of economic development activity right now. It's very surprising. But as our existing businesses here in King George, we are a rural county, so they do struggle, and we really depend on the in-commute from Dahlgren to sort of keep those guys here. And with everybody telecommuting, they are struggling. However, we have put together a small business grant that will be made available on Wednesday for them to start submitting applications. So they'll start to see at least some local relief from the county. And then on the tourism front, we were recently awarded a Wonderlove grant, which pretty much promotes tourism to state parks and outdoor recreation areas. That was $8,300. We're really excited about that, especially not using county money during a time like this to sort of promote Caledon State Park and Belgrove Plantation and the wineries that we have out here. We're also going to resume our 300th planning. If you guys don't know, this is King George County's 300th anniversary. The Board of Supervisors did elect to go back to planning those events. Obviously, they'll be outdoor, and we'll have to mitigate some of the interactions that people make, but we're pretty excited about that as well. If you guys aren't, or if you guys haven't seen, we did start sending out a quarterly newsletter from the county. King George hasn't really done that recently in the past, or if we have, it's been pretty spotty. We're going to try to remain consistent, giving everybody updates on what's going on in the county. We've also started doing bi-weekly updates. So to sort of copy the Fred Focus bill, we want to start giving people more of an update of really what's going on in the county on a regular basis. So if you guys have anything, if FAR has anything, or the Women's Council of Realtors have anything that they want to put out, we're more than happy to put that out to the King George Realtors and the community. Then to move on into the Realtors information. So one thing that we're really excited about, obviously, is the new Nice and Middleton Bridge. That's going to become a 4-lane bridge into the Southern Maryland area and going down to 301. That'll benefit King George greatly, as well as Gary Wilson and Caroline County. I'm sure they're excited about it as well. The increased traffic should increase business in the area, so retail, restaurants, the whole nine is what we're hoping for. And that's going to require some ordinance changes. So we've been talking to our community development office to sort of get that done. I know in the past, King George has really sort of had a, get in and get out as quickly as you possibly can, but that mindset is really changing now, and to sort of embracing that development of business and new business. So you'll probably see some ordinance changes coming in the county pretty soon. I would say definitely towards restaurants and food trucks and things of that nature. And then the thing that I think is probably the most important to you guys, excuse me, is the Dominion broadband pilot that we were recently awarded. This is pretty huge. So the Dominion broadband pilot program is essentially, Dominion is going to run fiber to each of their substations in the Northern Neck, starting in King George County. And they're petitioning the SEC to utilize the co-op easements to deliver broadband to underserved areas. And this isn't just, and the promise is is that they're going to deliver it to every underserved home in the Northern Neck. So, and underserved is considered 25 megabytes download speed and below, and 5 megabytes upload speed and below. So what they're promising is that they're going to deliver this to every home that's above that. Sorry, I should let you guys know that's going to be above 25 megabytes per second download and 5 megabytes upload. And this is a game changer for us. Every home, if every home has it, then this community looks a lot different. It goes from being very rural to being very commercially viable, and people want to live here. And as you're dealing with COVID-19, if people from Northern Virginia can live in a rural area and still have access to internet, that pretty much changes everything. So as you see homes, or as you talk to customers and they're interested in a rural area that is quote unquote, high tech, I guess is the way to put it, King George could be that by 2022. So what they're proposing is that phase one, we're in phase one now, actually. So the county has put aside up to $500,000 to support this initiative. And phase two will start at the first quarter of next year, 2021. And then they should start construction by the fall of 2021. So hopefully by 2022, the fall of 2022, the entire system should be built out, and we should have broadband to every underserved home in the county, which is just incredible for us. And we're really, really excited about that. That doesn't solve the immediate need that we have right now, especially in our school system and our teachers and everybody going digital. But as far as a long-term solution, this is pretty incredible for us. And so we have to begin to look at what does King George County look like in 2023 and 2022. What are the type of businesses that we can go after? What do the residents look like? It's a completely different mindset we're going to have moving on in the future. And then I think that's all I have, Kim.
Nick, that's great. And kudos to King George. And I know we're going to go to Orange next. I've been really impressed with what I've seen out of the rural counties. I know it's an incredible challenge to think about educating an entire generation of school children here remotely when the internet access is spotty at best for a lot of properties. And I've heard agents say repeatedly, internet is like lights and water. People, they think of it as a utility, even though it is not. But that is the mindset. So Rose Deal, I will kick it over to you from Orange County. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, Kim, for having us or having me. And while my overview of the county may not be as in depth as others, I am just 3 weeks into this job. So I've kind of been drinking from the fire hose, but I can give you guys a very high level overview. Orange County as well, our tourism department was awarded the Wonder Love grant for $10,000 to promote day trips and tourism in Orange County. So we're really excited to work with our tourism department and be able to get that those marketing things out to people to promote Orange County. My first week on the job, I was tasked with getting our CARES Act. It's called the Bounce Back Orange Small Business grant, and we are awarding $200,000 worth of grants to for-profit businesses and schools, and $100,000 in grants to nonprofit businesses. So each business or organization is eligible to up to $10,000 based on employment. So we're hoping to have that wrapped up. That application period actually ends on the 17th, and we'd like to have all the awards issued by the 31st. So we know that the businesses are struggling, and if we can throw them a lifeboat, this would help them. Two businesses that we have coming into the county. We have a manufacturing company that produces cold patch aggregate. It's called Aquafault. They're actually relocating from Troy into our Thomas Healy Industrial Park. And this deal was actually started back in 2018, but they actually broke ground the beginning of this year. So we're excited to see the building and the dirt moving. Another exciting thing for downtown Gordonsville is Champion Brewery out of Charlottesville is actually expanding into a space in our downtown Gordonsville. They're going to be called the Ice House, and they are partnering with Barbecue Exchange, the very famous barbecue and fried chicken place in downtown Gordonsville. So they're slated to open fall of 2020. We're really excited to have them as a storefront on our main street. Building permits for the year actually are flat. So we have not seen a decline in that. They are actually the same year over year from 2019. So that's a positive. And us, as well as other rural localities, are struggling with broadband connection. Our broadband committee was formed. Our broadband authority was formed a couple years ago in order to try to provide the access throughout the county. And we're pleased to announce that we have broken this down into 8 phases. The first phase was to install the core fiber, which is complete. The second phase will connect our public safety radio system to the dispatch centers, and that's also in progress. Third phase will connect our core network to Equinix and Culpeper. That's still in progress. Fourth phase will connect the government facilities, which is also in progress. And then the 5th through 8th phase, which you guys are probably more interested in, is the one that will connect businesses and residences. So phase 5 is expected to serve about 3,700 addresses throughout the county. Phase 6 and 7 are expected to serve another 1,320, about 850 respectively. So each of those 3 phases is supposed to take about a year each. So we're looking at about 3 years out to be fully connected all of our underserved residences and businesses. And that's all I have for Orange County. Thank you again.
Yeah, Rose, thank you. I have to give another shout out again to the rural counties. And we've talked about broadband for years, and we've started saying, hey, this is amazing. We're seeing some movement. So to hear 3,700 addresses, I mean, that's incredible. It's a few years ago, none of this was really happening. And I will also say, I know you couldn't hear it, but you got a major shout out on the Ice House Brewing when you mentioned that one. So thank you.
A lot of people are excited about that one. Please come out and visit Orange, have a beer.
When it's safe to gather again, maybe we can be
go.
doing an event out there in Orange County. So we'll give you a call. Okay, so now we'll switch it over to Debbie Sanders with Spotsylvania County. Debbie, welcome.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everyone, for inviting Spotsylvania in for an update. We, too, like the rest of our partners, have seen accelerated activity since COVID began. And the majority of our activity is centered around industrial sectors such as manufacturing and distribution. As of July, there have been 51 new business locations this year. 4 of those within the manufacturing sector, adding 165,000 square feet, and 6 existing business expansions of just under 200,000 square feet. Those expansions took place in the high-tech, defense contracting, manufacturing, and distribution sectors. So we're very happy with that. We continue to see activity come into the county faster than I have ever seen it. As of April, the county's unemployment rate has continued to drop. We have dropped from 11% to 8.3% as of June. Of course, our existing businesses have been our main focus, and we went into overload trying to find available resources to connect with our existing businesses. Our website is very well loaded with essential information. That is a daily job. We have virtual meetings almost daily with our businesses of different sectors. We have a bi-weekly newsletter. So if you haven't seen that, please go onto our website and find the newsletter and sign up for it. I think you'll find a lot of useful information in that. The county continues to have a business-friendly fast-track development review process, one of the lowest real estate tax rates on the East Coast, driven with a minimal regulation. Our Thornburg area continues to see a high demand as our next growth area with our recently improved road network, a $22 million improvement at exit 118. So as far as the broadband, the county is very involved in trying to increase the accessibility for our rural areas. And so we have partnered with REC, and there's other efforts too that we're working towards. So we're very aware of that and hope to bring that to fruition soon with the rest of our regional partners. So that concludes my presentation, Kim.
Yeah, that's great information. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we've got John Holden from Stafford County, joined by Lindsay Brown. So John and Lindsay, welcome to the Women's Council of Realtors.
Thank you all. Thank you, ladies, for having me. Let me introduce Lindsay. Lindsay has joined us last week. She's under contract with our Economic Development Administration. She's a bunch of government words that says she's working with us to help us do more event and marketing coordination, as well as the launch of our, frankly, now 3rd round of grants for businesses as a result of COVID. Lindsay, you want to say hello for just a minute, and I'll get into the highlights.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you so much for welcoming me. Like John said, I just started last week, so this is all new to me. But I do have a long history with marketing, event planning, and a little bit of dabbling in grants. So I'm really excited to be working with Stafford County. And again, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you all. I'll be brief. First of all, when COVID started, we launched To Go Stafford. That's for any local restaurant. That's free to join. Encourage you to share it with anyone. That's to get people to know the restaurants are open. I also encourage you to follow the hashtag What's Next Stafford. You'll see a lot of our LinkedIn primarily, but some Facebook posts on there as well. We did release $450,000 worth of grants to over 120 businesses in early March, or middle March, I guess. And we're about, you may have just seen, if you haven't, our economic website is gostaffordva.com. We've just announced about $1.8 million worth of business grants in 3 different programs. And I'll let you go to that site to describe that, to get into more detail of that. Plus some other funds for broadband expansion as well. The thing we're really excited about is the launch with our partners, Nick and Bill and others, is our Entrepreneur Development Program. There's a group out of Raleigh, North Carolina that wants to be here in Virginia. So we invited them and put the funding together. And we had a town hall not last week, I don't know, 2 weeks ago now, really launching a program around entrepreneurship for all businesses, but with a tech focus, because every business can use technology, as all of you know, as you can as well. So if it can help in your business, we've got some people that at no cost will help you expand or launch a new venture. So again, you can find that on gostaffordva.com. Major initiatives, really, we continue to focus on the fact that we are a cyber center, a technology center. We need to let the world know that more so, and that's part of Lindsay's job. But also, our whole smart city initiative, coupled with our hopefully with a vote here soon. I can't get into politics, but on downtown Stafford. We really think that we're in a position to develop what I would call the post-COVID new version of an urban center in Virginia, if not North America, because we're starting from essentially a greenfield. And we'll do that in combination with what we're learning from our Smart City testbed that's been sponsored by the Center for Innovative Technology. And that's right in our downtown area, targeted in our comp plan, in our urban service area. I mention that because you're going to hear coming up again from our board more discussion about what we call healthy growth. Of course, we all want to do, but that's really, let's be blunt, it's about some zoning changes in the rural areas to try to target growth into the urban service areas, including, for example, a downtown Stafford. It's not without contention, for sure, but we used to call it, where I worked before, smart growth. I mean, who does dumb growth or who does unhealthy growth? But it's really about preserving and conserving rural areas and having growth, including housing development in what we call the urban services area. And related to housing development, we're going to need it, quite frankly. We've got some significant projects on the way that could be anywhere between 200 and 400 jobs. Now, I'd much rather have those people living closer to their job than further, causing more traffic, which we all know is an issue. Just very briefly, Publix is under construction, as you know, exit 140. Lidl has another site they're looking at in North Stafford, and Patriots Crossing was just announced in the news, which will have some restaurants as well. And I'll stop there and look forward to Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, John. Welcome, Lindsay. So this is just really encouraging information for me to hear. I think that it's easy to get sort of bogged down in the day-to-day details, and the school's not going back. It feels like we're still right in the thick of it. It doesn't feel like we're much better off than March or April, but we are. And to hear how resilient our local economies are is really, really encouraging to me personally. I want to open it up to questions. I don't want to monopolize, so please, if you want to ask a question, unmute yourself and ask, or send it through the chat. If we have any questions in the room, just tell me and I'll repeat it so the folks on the Zoom can hear. But one thing I did want to ask is this is such optimistic information. It's amazing. And then you're reading things about, the virus impacts probably being another 12 months until we get back to anything approaching a pre-pandemic normal. Are you seeing any sort of what you're looking at, maybe long-term thought changes in investors or business owners? Are they looking for smaller retail spaces? Are people looking to abandon some of those larger shopping spaces and focus more online? Are the restaurants, how are they functioning? I know I've gone out to eat several times, but on a Friday night, there's no wait and there's half the tables empty because of physical distancing. That has got to be a huge financial impact for our businesses. So
the revenue is down sharply. There's no doubt about it. We can see that in the meals tax as well. It's a significant impact, particularly to those small businesses. We're seeing, and I'm sure Bill could probably speak as well to this. Again, we're a little bit luckier. We have a little bit more diversity in Stafford, but it's a big impact on those small businesses. Other types of businesses that we have a lot of, frankly, are impacted, but Intuit, I don't know if you all know, Intuit has close to 400 people employed here. They responded immediately, had everyone working at home within 2 weeks, and now they're starting to bring them back. So, they're doing fine, relatively, as opposed to the small business.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump on with John. I mean, obviously, I think we're all of us that are on here today are kind of paid cheerleaders to an extent for our communities. So obviously we definitely highlight a lot of the positive things that are going on, and there are a lot of positive things. We didn't make that stuff up, but there are obviously real challenges too. And Kim, like you said, the restaurants and retailers are all having a hard time. I applaud them for what they've done to pivot to building up their online ordering systems and delivery and takeout, and they've been doing what they need to survive, but it certainly hasn't been easy. I do sense a little bit that people are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, but certainly it's the world is far from being back to normal.
Yeah, for King George, I've spoken to several. I've primarily focused on really small, right? Like it's just mom and pop, or it's a dentist office or something like that. And the majority of these guys have laid off folks. Mostly they're part timers, not really they're full timers, and they are being hit hard. And that's why I think the grants are important. I think that the marketing and promotion of these businesses is important. And I think it's also important that, I know for me, I have a small office. It's me, Kim, and I have one part-time person. I'm overwhelmed when I get calls about, how can I help them? But I think the important thing for them to do is to learn how to pivot to online, or at least pivot to understanding online marketing. When I first got here 11 months ago, there was a big fight about a sign ordinance, right, on the roads. But what's a sign ordinance if nobody's on the roads and everybody's on their computers or looking at their phone? So businesses need to learn to pivot and market online. That's no problem for realtors. Realtors already knew that. But if you're a brick and mortar, a sign was a big deal for you, right? So it's sort of getting these guys or getting these business owners who have relied so much on signs or relied so much on old ways of marketing to learn how to generate leads online. And I wish I could sit down with every one of them and sort of go through, this is how you lay out a Facebook post, or this is how you target somebody, with geolocation or something like that, but I can't, So I think that, they have to learn, or they have to, pivot with the times or hold on until things get back to normal. So that's sort of the things that I'm saying.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of Nick, we're seeing something similar here in Orange. About all of our businesses have relayed to us they've seen either anywhere between a 50 and 70% loss in revenue, and some of our biggest points in helping businesses are getting them online. That's where we're getting a lot of phone calls. How do I get online? How do I create an online store? And so we've been working with our Small Business Development Center, and they've been doing virtual one-on-ones with these businesses, walking them through how to create a Facebook page, because we had a lot of businesses who didn't even have Facebook. They had no online presence whatsoever. And so being able to pivot from that non-online presence to now you need to be online. That's where people are checking first to see if you're open. What do you have? What are you serving tonight? Is really what's going to make or break some of these businesses. And but we've been working a lot with the Small Business Development Center, so I definitely have to give them kudos as to the services they're providing and the extra courses they're doing through Zoom virtual. It's really been helping a lot of our businesses, and we've gotten some feedback from them saying thank you for pushing me to get online. So
yeah, absolutely. The SBDCs have been helpful. Fredericksburg and I think Stafford. I don't know which county did it first, but Fredericksburg did the Love Local marketing campaign, and then Stafford did the Go Stafford, and then our county. I saw that, and I was like, this is something we need to be doing too, because our visitKingGeorge.com website is probably some of our businesses' only digital footprint, right? They don't have any, there's nowhere else where people can really find where these guys are, or if they're open, or what they're doing, or even their phone number. So, our county website, I'm constantly trying to promote it, or at least get people to visit there. So for rural counties anyway, the people who do own businesses and they've been operating in the county for decades, they've never had to be online. They've been supported by the community for years. And so now that this thing has changed, they're looking for help, and the SBDCs have really been there. The thing is, you just have to point them in the right direction, and that's hard enough in itself. So.
Okay, I saw Sandy, you had your mute.
Yeah, I have a question. It sounds like there's a lot of growth and a lot of great things coming down the pike, but I'm sure a lot of these brick and mortar distribution centers and stores and that sort of thing were already in process before this whole COVID thing started. So I'm just wondering if you all have seen in the last, say, 4 to 5 months, has there been in any of your potential clients or whatever who have said, hold on, we're just going to wait another year, we're just going to pull out for right now? Have you seen that happen?
I'll go. We certainly, you're right, Sandy. A lot of the activity that you're seeing play out now was already in the pipeline and was already being reviewed before COVID started, and they're midstream on the project, so they're going to continue through this. And we still have had a good number of businesses and even projects that have still come to talk to us amid this. I would say it's slowed. And there certainly are businesses that have pressed pause until this is behind us. So, yeah. So I mean, you're right on the money. But it has slowed. But there still are businesses that are opening and new inquiries coming in, even if it's a little slower.
So I've seen it in like 2 waves. So January 1 of 2020. I was getting a project up until March. I was probably getting 2 projects, I would say, every 2 weeks. We were getting a ton of projects. And then as soon as COVID-19 hit, it stopped. By April and May, they started coming back again. And I started to see more and more. Not at the same rate, but these are different types of projects, or I would say other motivated, prospects who have a different mindset or was prepared for COVID-19. So, I mean, I'm sure maybe the other localities have seen sort of the same thing, where after March, you didn't get anything for probably all of April. And then in May, you probably started seeing more. And then June, you started seeing more. Just last week, I received 2 other projects from the state and the regional groups. So it's starting to pick back up. And for us anyway, we've seen some IT projects, distribution projects, and I think 1 manufacturing project. So it's pretty diverse. The other thing I think about is that access to capital is still pretty cheap. If people can borrow money, I mean, borrowing money right now is very cheap for projects. So I don't think it would, that's not an issue. I think it's just maybe the uncertainty on regulation and what that looks like. So.
I see Gary is unmuted. Gary, you want to go ahead?
I just reiterate, I guess, it was kind of interesting because the projects that we had, I thought they were very solid walking into January. A couple of those evaporated because of the pandemic. People were concerned, afraid of the market conditions, and they pulled out. But since that time, people with distribution centers are beginning to understand that there's more of a draw for shopping online than ever before, and probably will maintain that kind of dynamic in the future. So those projects have surged forward, as well as data centers, because data centers, everybody again online, and of course there's only going to be more use of online and other kind of technologies that such as remote control vehicles and so forth, self-driving vehicles will also need that sort of thing, and those kind of technologies which are emergent. So you're seeing a lot of those come across now. When before we were having a difficult time drawing their attention, but not so at this moment.
So I did an interview with Ben Ketty back in April, and what he said back then was a lot of these projects that he works on are multi-year projects, right? So somebody now is going to look ahead and say, my project's not going to be online until 2022 or 3. I'm not worried about the long-term impacts of COVID. So they are moving ahead with some of those projects. I would think that things would, hopefully still be the same from April to now. I did have one question that came across about the Harry Nice Bridge. So Nick, as quick as you can, the Harry Nice Bridge replacement in 60 seconds or less, go.
Yeah, so the Nice and Middleton Bridge is the same bridge. they're keeping the old one up until the new one is built. The new landing spot for that bridge is at Wayside Park. So the county got compensated for Wayside Park, and they bought an additional house not too far from there, as well as some additional property. So the new Nice Middleton Bridge is replacing the Nice Bridge, the Harry Nice Bridge, that leads you to Maryland or Maryland into Virginia.
So Nick, do you think anyone's actually going to call it the Nice Middleton Bridge, or will it forever be the Harry Nice Bridge?
I think people are going to just say New Nice. I like that, actually. New Nice Bridge sounds better than Middleton.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was a good man, but New Nice sounds a lot better.
Yeah,
Could be the Nick Minor Bridge before it's all.
Gary, sometimes I stay up late at night and I just think to myself, one good project would change everything.
Yeah. Okay, so if Debbie's still on the phone, Debbie, I see you there. We had a question about any update on the mall redevelopment, specifically the Sears space.
Yes, in fact, just backing up a little bit, when our non-essential businesses did close, shut down temporarily, the mall was one of the major retailers and partners that we called. They stayed open. They said, no, we're keeping our doors open. Yes, the stores individually closed, but they kept the mall up and running. They planned, they listened, they tried to do everything to prepare for when it would reopen again. So that was really a big thing for the county and the region, that they did not shut everything down. And yes, with Sears closing, there is a 250 apartment complex, Aura, AURA apartments. It's a high-end luxury apartment complexes that will be locating on the mall property with a limited amount of retail as well. So it is going to be in a true sense, a mixed-use development at the mall. So, and we're seeing this more and more throughout the Virginia and the U.S., where there are going to be different uses at malls. And I also recently read, which I hope we don't have any more major anchors closed, but Amazon is looking to infill closed Pennies and Sears stores. So, but we have not heard any word that any of our other major anchors will be closing at Spotsy.
Okay, interesting. Okay, we have a question from the audience. Sherry Shaw.
Yes. All right. So kudos about repurposing.
I'm gonna have Sherry come up here and talk so I don't have to repeat.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so kudos about repurposing some of the land use around here, and in the other counties and cities around here. Do you see a lot of people putting in permits to repurpose things, either because of the economy or simply because of COVID, that some things have shut down? And have you seen an uptick in that and being able to repurpose or rezoning so that we can still have growth?
We'll kick that to whoever wants to take it. Who should we pick on? Who hasn't talked much?
I can answer that. I do have information on building permits over the past 6 months, and we are seeing quite a bit of our buildings in our downtown area get renovated in order to, either change the use or make it available for other businesses to be able to come in. In the past, that wasn't, typically how things would go. Most of the time they would wait until a project came in and then they would renovate the building. But now we're seeing some renovations here and there in order to anticipate and to hope that growth will come in, which is good for Orange County. We needed that.
So I would say, in terms of rezoning, good luck rezoning anything in King George. But I say that in a good way, right? We have primary settlement areas. If your project is located in a primary settlement area, the Board of Supervisors will work with you. But if it's zoned ag in King George, and let's just say that there's no other commercial or there's no industrial development around it, it's probably not going to happen. The board, as much as they welcome growth and business development, and economic development projects. They're pretty, I would say they're pretty stern when it comes to building out their primary settlement areas first, and then sort of looking at where else to go. I mean, it would take a significant project, mixed-use development, industrial project in order to rezone something like that, just to put it out there.
This is Debbie Sanders. I just wanted to let you know that the board recently asked staff to look into adding 50 acres or less of industrial within a commercial zone. So we are looking at new ways to combine uses that are like or are respectful of one another. So we think that that would add interest and a few more uses, and to really use our land at the highest and best use. So it's just an idea that we're exploring right now.
Yeah, and I'll jump in. I mean, we're definitely still seeing some rezoning activity. We've got one in front of the city council tomorrow night on the mobile home park to become an office park. A lot of the downtown buildings have been renovated and repurposed. Some of the historic buildings have been, repurposed into condos. Sort of a lot of them have been kind of a combination of preserving existing space and then building new on adjacent parcels, like the lofts at Frederick Street and like the Foodie project with the new townhouses behind it. And I think more of that will be to come, with the retail environment the way it is. I'm confident that you'll continue to see spaces be repurposed. For example, in Central Park, where there's 1.8 million square feet of retail, over the years, likely some of that will be repurposed into other things. But I think we're trying to remain agile and flexible and adapt with the times. So, good question.
Okay, so Sherry is asking that you put your contact info in the chat. I think I have everybody's contact info.
I just figured everyone that was on here.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I can put that together in a sheet and I can send it to Sharon or Sharon. Y'all can share it with everybody who's registered for the call. So I know we're right up against 1 o'clock. If anybody has any final questions. Oh, Sherry does. Go ahead. Get in there.
I stayed up all night last night coming up with questions for you guys. So just another question, since inventory in the area is at an all-time low, are each of the jurisdictions, are they helping permits to go through faster for people that are remodeling their houses to possibly sell, or even for new builds?
So I know for our community development office, they're pumping out permits like crazy. Now, I'm not saying they're speeding it up, but I would say that, they are. So I'm trying to think what their total was for the end year. I think it was 700. I mean, this is for a small county's community development department, but they went over after COVID-19 because so many people were putting in building permits. I think that they projected like $500,000 in revenue, and they were at 750 for the year, for this fiscal year. So that's really good for them. But there hasn't, not that I'm aware of, there hasn't been any like fast track program that they put together. I just think the focus has really just been on the homes, so that's where the work is coming from, and there's been less, I would say, retail or commercial buildings being done in our county, just overall. So.
John?
Just very briefly, I mentioned this to Kim in a dialogue about a month ago. I would encourage all of you to speak up to your county board, whichever one they are, about the demand for housing, different housing stock. I think they need to hear it. They don't need to hear it from me, the guy trying to bring jobs, which we are. As I said, potentially hundreds of jobs. So where are these people going to live? I would encourage you all to be active about sharing your concerns or thoughts or opportunities about the type of housing stock that is in demand. Thanks.
Thanks, John. I mean, I know if all of you follow the statistics we put out, we just put out our quarterly report just a week or two ago, and I was just flabbergasted by the visual of active listings at the end of the second quarter. It's less than half it was last year in Stafford and Spotsylvania. And if you had asked any agents last year, what's the biggest challenge in the market? I think we would have heard supply. And to think that we're less than half of where we were last year, and there was an issue then. Stafford County had a 1.2 month supply of homes. That's just, I was like mind blown when I saw those statistics. And it's not showing signs of easing, anytime soon, easing significantly. So those building permits are certainly becoming more important than ever as people renovate to get what they want or try to build new.
Can I make a point really quick? So what John said is extremely important to our county, right? Very important. So if you run into a county board of supervisor, please stress to them, we need people in our county. I know that they are looking at different housing developments. I'm sure anybody's heard of the King George Villages project. That's been very controversial and in the news a lot. But we need developments like that. I would say, your townhomes, your luxury apartments. We definitely have enough single family homes in the county, but we need to start building or start looking at some density. So, that's and the workforce. So, but that's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Nick. Well, thank you again to Gary, Bill, Nick, Rose, Debbie, John, and Lindsay. It was wonderful having you all. It's always so exciting to hear about what's going on in our jurisdictions. Y'all do such a great job, and you bring the workers in and we'll try to find them a house. So.